Well, the peace didn't last long, did it? The Olympic flame is barely out and the shooting has already started. And most concerning is the threat of nuclear war. But we need to be frank with ourselves. Despite recent events, Russia is not the biggest threat to world peace. That distinction goes to the Chinese Communist Party, or the CCP. But there is hope. Chinese history actually gives us a way out, that the time is critical. We must act now before the situation becomes far worse. Sadly though, with a weak president in the White House, and especially after the debacle in Afghanistan, any decisive action looks unlikely. The Biden administration have bungled every move leading up to the invasion of the Ukraine by telegraphing their intentions and only sending aid after the war had begun. Rather than preventing war, it seems they are doing their best to encourage it. Putin and Xi Jinping signed an agreement shortly before the war, and not criticising their new ally shows China's own intent. Putin is likely not the only tyrant who is looking to take advantage of the situation, and now with a whistleblower coming forward, whether true or not, should still be a wake-up call to us all. Thus, it only seems a question of when, not if, China will try to invade Taiwan. Xi Jinping's political and personal ambition is to conquer the island, and a war for Taiwan will be much different, launched with massive firepower to quickly get ashore and overwhelm the defences, likely followed by ideological retribution, making it much bloodier and brutal than that in the Ukraine. A successful invasion of Taiwan would also have dire consequences across the globe, for the Western world has gone and placed all their eggs in one basket, just as Europe has done with their over-reliance on Russian energy. Not only are China already supplying more than 85% of the world's rare earths needed for things like solar panels to batteries, with control of Taiwan, China would also be sitting on roughly 88% of the world's semiconductor manufacturing, which goes into almost everything electronic we use these days. So overnight, the world would be at the mercy of a single man. It seems like finally the US president has woken up to this problem, but it might already be too late. To make matters worse, the West has tied itself up in knots with political correctness, which has completely inhibited our ability to have difficult conversations about topics such as how to deal with China. Political correctness is even being exploited by our adversaries. No doubt soon the Taiwanese will also be labelled Nazis or other slurs, just like the Ukrainians and the Canadian truckers, which is straight out of the far left's playbook for justifying violence by demonising any and all who don't toe the line. It is time to hold the CCP to account. They continually break promises such as with Hong Kong. They invade sovereign countries as in Tibet. They destroy coral reefs to create militarised bases in disputed territory. They commit state-sponsored cyber attacks on the free world's critical infrastructure. They steal technology. They threaten war, and they even run concentration camps. Not to mention the pandemic. And yet we reward them with Olympic Games and of course favourable trading conditions such as the status of a developing nation. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem likely that the CCP will lose their grip on power anytime soon. So just like the virus, we're going to have to learn to live with them for the foreseeable future. Yet history gives us hope, and that's why it matters. An ancient Chinese cultural concept that dates back 2,500 years and still persists today is the mandate from heaven, in which it is believed a successful ruler has the backing of the heavens. But it is also Xi's political Achilles heel, for if China wasn't given a free ride by the West and the economic situation in China got worse, then the people might start to believe that the CCP had lost its mandate and change might then be able to come about. It also gives the West leverage to have China follow international law. Most urgently though, Taiwan must be given the weapons it needs, primarily anti-shipping missiles, to make it plain to Xi and the CCP that any attempt will be folly and only endanger their own positions. It might also be advisable not to announce it until the deterrent is in place, otherwise it might force Xi's hand. It is also beyond time to stop giving China a free ride while we still can. Otherwise, does anyone for a second believe they will start keeping their word once they gain political and military ascendancy?